Your Excellency, the Speaker of Parliament and FRU Trustee, Mr. Perry, Attorney-General and Mr. Minister of Economy, Sir, Board Directors, ladies and gentlemen. Today's event with the signing of the Shareholders Agreement for contract with limited between the Fiji government and contract marks another historic milestone for Fiji Rugby, but more importantly, for the swashbuckling Fijian Ruck. Today's signing marks government's financial commitment of another $3 million of a total of $6 million and 51% equity in ownership of the Fijian Ruck franchise. As I speak, I am privileged to be part of Fiji's first professional sports team, the Fijian Ruck. Government's vision in using sports such as rugby as a lever for change to unite Fijian communities and bring smiling faces across our communities is realized today. In addition, noting the potential opportunities that the Fijian Ruck will create for sports tourism and other sectors in the 6 Ruck home games annually. The investment by government during the post-COVID-19 economic recovery period is a testament of government's commitment and support to our national sport, rugby, a game that always lifts Fijian spirits despite the challenges and adversities we face. The investment by government will help provide support and the necessary rugby high-performance resources, support and personnel before the Ruck commences its 2023 Super Rugby Pacific season. I thank the Fijian government, the leadership of the Honourable Prime Minister and the support of the Honourable Attorney-General and Minister of Economy and trustees and FRU for the government sponsorship towards the Fijian Ruck. Finally, to the interim CEO, Mr. Brian Thurban, for your commitment and sacrifice in setting up the Ruck franchise. Lalabalavu.
To His Excellency, Minister of Economy and Attorney-General, to Chairman and Counter-Ruck Directors present today. It's a wonderful occasion. We are very grateful to Government for its commitment. It's allowed us to comply with our New Zealand Rugby licence and to actually hold the licence, and it now allows us to continue to invest in the team as we transition back to Fiji after a difficult first year in Australia. So I won't add anything more to that other than to say, extend our gratitude.
Your Excellency, Ratu Pelinatika, the Speaker of the House, also Speaker of Parliament, Trustee for Fiji Rugby Football Union Trust Board, Commodore Humphrey Tawake, John O'Connor, the CEO of Counter Ruck, ladies and gentlemen. As was announced in the revised 2021-2022 budget, to support the Fiji Rugby Union, the Fijian Ruck in meeting the New Zealand Rugby Union's financing requirements for Super Rugby Pacific, the Fijian government will invest $6 million for 51% shareholding in Counter Ruck PT Limited, or CRPL, which was established by the Fiji Rugby Football Union Trust Board to own and operate the Fijian Ruck. On 20th of April 2022, the parties entered into a deed of understanding and the Fijian government agreed to acquire 51% shareholding in the company with a total investment of $6 million. On the same day, Fijian government paid to CRPL the first tranche of the investment in the sum of $3 million for 255 ordinary shares at $11,764.70 per share. I'm highlighting all of this because it's taxpayers' funds, and I would like you to know exactly how the money is being spent, where it's being spent. Pursuant to the DOU, FRU now holds 490 shares in the company and the Fijian government holds 255 shares. That was at $3 million. The Fijian government will acquire additional 255 shares for the sum of $3 million, which is what we'll be doing today in the current financial year, bringing the total shares held in CRPL to 510 shares, or 51% shareholding of CRPL's shareholding, total shareholding. In other words, the Fijian government owned 51%. In accordance with the section 3.4 of the DOU, the parties are to execute a shareholders agreement. This agreement will ensure the harmonious and successful management and control of CRPL, and to provide for an orderly and fair disposition of shares of the CRPL now hereafter owned by any shareholders. In other words, there's mechanisms built in the shareholders agreement. Should the Fijian government wish to divest its shares, this particular shareholders agreement in respect of the divestment, what process should take place, how will the valuation of the shares be done, etc. The agreement also takes into consideration the mutual promises of the parties intending to be legally bound with agreed terms and conditions, but not limited to the following. FRU and the Fijian government will not interfere in the operational functions of CRPL, the independent. Board structure layout being one director position for the FRU and one director position for the Fijian government, and 3 independent director positions appointed by nominations committee of the board, NZRU and the World Rugby. World Rugby observer position on the board during the World Rugby investment period also. In the event the Fijian government wishes to divest or sell the allocated 51% shares or part of it, the FRU, being the owner of 49% shares in CRPL, is to be given the first right of acquisition or first right of refusal, as some people say, and buy back the shares being sold at its discretion. Each party shall be responsible for paying all taxes, if any, imposed by any applicable law in connection with the obligation under the deed. As alluded to earlier during the DOU signing in April, the Fijian government equity investment position the Fijian drawer for growth and ensures it can sustain itself in the ongoing and competitive sports landscape. The next several years, it avoids the need for the CRPL to raise further capital from the private sector sources and also reduces medium-term need for additional sources. Through the Fijian government investment, the Fijian drawer managed to go through the first ever Super Rugby Pacific season, surviving 2 evacuations from their training base in Australia due to storms and adverse weather. The team was able to procure specialist technical strength and conditioning support that enabled them to compete at the highest level of competition in the world. This is what enabled the team to win 2 matches and challenge some of the competition's leading teams like the Reds, the Highlanders and of course the Chiefs. The drawer, having completed the season, is now home full-time and will launch the Super Rugby Pacific campaign from Fiji for the very first time and plan to set up in Nadi. Fans can expect up to 5 Super Rugby matches right here at home, bringing the best rugby players in the world to Fiji. With the marketing and partnership plans, the drawer has started with our national airline, Fiji Airways and Tourism Fiji. We will promote Fiji as the best place in the world to watch Super Rugby match live. This brings in new visitors to Fiji who will enjoy, of course, travel packages consisting of airfares, hotel accommodation, ground transportation, match tickets, all in one place. As an aside also, you would have seen in the budget, government has allocated funding to upgrade the lights at Churchill Park to make it in compliance with international requirements for night games also. The investment in drawer is driven by the vision of the Fijian government to ensure newer revenue streams for the country, driven by newer international events like Super Rugby matches. Of course, the world took notice of Fiji when drawer played in front of sold-out matches in Suva and Lautoka. In fact, many of you would know that many people from overseas actually commented about the spirit and enthusiasm and the full capacity of the stadium and said, we wish we could have that. So Fiji obviously leading charge in that respect also. We've got enormous feedback and very positive feedback from the businesses in Lautoka and Suva, from restaurants, bars, clubs, taxi operators, rental car companies and others, that they never had such a quick uptake or uptick in business in a single weekend as in the weekend that drawer played. This second tranche of equity payout will ensure that drawer continues down this path of progress, giving our young rugby players a pathway to aspire to. It gives them the chance, the opportunity to play professional rugby right here at home, among their families, communities and of course their friends. The Fijian drawer has already embarked on the creation of the world-class Centre of Excellence in Nadi, where our players will train every day for the rigours and intensity of Super Rugby. Again, this is only possible because of this investment into rugby by the Fijian government. The drawer is a start-up business as we see it, one close to the hearts of Fijians at home and around the world. It will play a crucial role in realising Fiji's dream to be ranked among the best rugby-playing nations in the world. It is a matter, of course, of immense national pride and direct economic boost for our people. We wish the drawer team all the best. Of course, we are now shareholders in it too, but I think as Fijians we all support the team, and from an economic perspective I think it will drive a new stream of revenue flows into Fiji, new opportunities, new areas of specialization, and of course the various what we call ancillary overflows from having such an investment and indeed bringing the international sport of rugby to Fiji and having it being played at the international level. I'd like to also thank the Fiji Rugby Union, the Counter Ruck team, for the commitment and also the negotiations with us. We were necessarily the most what do you call slackers of negotiations and negotiators. We were very hard, so it is done at arm's length. We'd like people to know that it's done at arm's length. There is a lot of commercial thinking behind this, and of course strategic thinking behind this partnership. And we'd like to also thank the trustee of the Rugby Union, the Excellency, sir. Thank you very much for your presence here. It again shows the enormity and the magnitude of this relationship by having His Excellency, the former President of Fiji, and the current Speaker of Parliament present here at this function. Naka, thank you.
Rusi from Seattle. Mr. Todd, just a question on the investment. Are you still opening up potential investors to come in during the draw, or inject more funds into the franchise?
Well, if they're willing to come and buy the shares that we have, they're more than willing.
Mr. AG, I believe before COVID, we were talking about improvement of franchise parking land at COVID. Now that the law is going to be based as this gate, are we still looking at the project?
At this point in time, our focus is on upgrading Churchill Park. It already has existing facilities and amenities that could be very easily, expedited in terms of its compliance with various international standards. So you would have seen in the budget we've allocated about $1 million to do all the groundwork. The bulk of the rest of the money will be spent on the actual acquisition of those lights that's required. So we hope to get Churchill Park up and running to have those international games.
Is it 6 games or 5 games? I have 2 different.
Well, we qualified to have 6 games as of now. Now we have options of playing 1 game offshore, which will not, but actually 6 home games that we have there. But whatever happens when we finalize the dates and who we're playing, there's a likelihood that we'll shift one of the home games somewhere else because of the commercial aspects and the money we bring into it. So that is the decision that grew a franchise for them to make.